Hey, what up guys, this is Versus Z bringing you a video review for movie series Iron Man Mark 1, Iron Man Mark 5, and Iron Man Mark 2, all from the Iron Man 2 figure series. Alright guys, let's start this up with Mark 1, probably one of the rarest of these figures, and also one of the most detailed of the figures. Mine though didn't come with as much weathering as the original Mark 1, or the original Iron Man first appearance. There were some figures that had more of that style of weathering, but you know, this is the first one I seen, or the one that I seen at the time where I really had some money to spend on it, and I said, well, I'm not gonna wait any longer. I better go get it. Anyway, very detailed. You can see the gears on his legs, you know, the guiding gears, or the belt, I guess. The leather that he wore underneath. You can see some devices, some little bit of tanks here, some little levers and things, gears and stuff. See a propellant tank for the flamethrower, I think. Just awesome detail. And then like here you can see some lettering AFP4 475. I'm not going to take the time to think about what that means. Arc reactor. You can see the asymmetry in the areas of where the plates were welded. It's just really greatly detailed. Next I'm going to talk about is our articulation. His head can rotate side to side up until he hits these panels on the shoulder. His arms can rotate 360, go in and out of the body. It's a little stiff, but that's about as far as you can get it out. Bends at the elbow, a little bit under 90 degrees, and no wrist rotation, but there is rotation at the elbow. There is a waist rotation, which I don't think is necessary at all, but it's there. Also, his legs, just like any of the other figures, has the hinged ball joint. You can bring it forward, rotate it, then you'll be able, and then rotate at the thigh. Thigh rotates, you know, the same Marvel hinge ball joint amount of rotation, although it is stiff. Now the knee bend, which is just a single bend, and it also rotates at the knee, but that's all fine. And also the foot goes up and down, rotates. Not much articulation, but it really makes sense for the design of this figure. I try to get him in a nice pose, but he doesn't look as any good than he does just standing there. Also, he comes with, of course, the stand, 3 armor cards, which I'm not going to show, and his flamethrower missile launching accessory. And he comes with one of these missiles, and you can just mount it onto any of his arms. Apparently on the box art it's mounted onto the left arm, so I'm just going to put it there. Now moving on to Iron Man Mark II, which is actually my favorite of the 3 that I'm showing, mostly because of the silver, the brilliant silver, and because of the base mold, which is the same one as the Mark VI, the Mark V, not the Mark V, but the Mark IV, yeah, and also the Mark III, which are all great molds, by the way. Very standard, yet, you know, very versatile. So you can see with the pose here, I couldn't think of any other pose to think of aside from this, because he doesn't really fight in the first movie. He just pretty much flies, so I figured, well, a flight-based pose might look good, and yeah, it looks good. I really like the silver applied on this guy. The black panel lining, I don't know if there's a variant on this thing, whether you have where there's black panel lining and also black rivets. But mine is black panel lining with gray rivets, and I think that looks better. The arc reactor light looks really nice. It looks slightly brighter than any of the rest of them, but that could just be because of the silver base color. But anyway, it's very magnificent, and this is not an eyesore at all. This is very nice. I love this silver. Problems with this mold, of course, because it's based on the Mark III, which has that popping shoulder problem, or the popping shoulder armor problem that the 6-inch figure had. For some reason they decided that was necessary to have on these smaller guys. That's the only problem I find with this figure, aside from the fact that he's entirely silver, and if you damage that silver, you're pretty much screwed. His articulation, very great. I don't really want to waste time showing it. If you have the Mark III, 4, and 6, it's pretty much the same, except for the fact that you have to deal with this popping shoulder armor. But otherwise, I love this figure. And I forgot to mention his accessory, which is a recolored Mark IV blaster, I guess, all painted in silver except for the part where it clips onto the arm. It's a more dull silver, and then you got a nice blue missile here, which looks great. And now the last suit, which is probably my least favorite of these three, is the Iron Man Mark V, sporting the Silver Centurion colors, just like the Inferno Mission Iron Man. The great thing about this figure is in its detail, and that's probably one of the only things I like about the figure. Because this suit pretty much, how do I say this, transforms from a suitcase into this armor, it has to collapse, it has to compact itself, so you see all these plates that really, make it look like they were like formed onto Tony Stark. And that's the one thing I really like about this design. This nice blue arc reactor light really accents the rest of the red and silver. The other thing I don't like about the figure is my own pick of it, and one of his eyes are lower than the other, so that sucks. Rather than that, the detailing on the panels and everything looks really nice. The other downside of this figure, I would have to say, is the articulation. It's mostly because of his shoulders. Now, his shoulders don't have that extra plate like the Mark III molds and the Mark IV/6 molds. Instead, it has like a huge, bulky shoulder, and that allows for the arms to not go out that far, which sucks. 360 rotation, of course. Elbows bend more than 90 degrees, a little bit more than 90 degrees. Wrists rotate. Very slim waist, so free rotation there. Head rotates. Legs move a lot easier than any of the rest of them because they don't have any, it's not very big around here. It's a very slim design. Double jointed knee bend, and the foot rotates, goes down, barely up, but mostly down. So the articulation's okay, it's pretty decent. It's just that it's disappointing at the fact that his arms only go out about that far. And I think the other drawback to this has to be his broad shoulders, which doesn't make sense because this figure, or the design of this suit, is supposed to be slimmer than the other Iron Man suits because it's not as powerful and it's compact. So why does he have such huge broad shoulders? I think that kind of gives an awkward look. And then finally his accessory, which is the suit case itself, which doesn't really make sense because why would he be firing his own armor? I don't know, but you have two missiles, which is, I guess, pretty cool. You press this little blue button here and they both launch. Another neat thing about this piece of accessory is you can actually open it up and you'll see like some kind of techie thing going on there. But that's actually pretty nice. So this does serve as something nice to have and display. Also, he comes with a hand that you can pop off, and he'll be able to hold it. I just can't find it right now, but you do have that optional hand. Alright, so which of these three can I recommend? Not the Mark V. I can't really recommend the Mark V because two reasons. One, personal preference. I don't like what's going on with the upper body. The lower half is really great though. But if you really like the Mark V, you really want to get it, hey, go for it. Don't let my opinion stop you. There is a Walmart 6-inch version. If you can find that, it's far better than this figure, so get that one instead if you can find it. Now the Mark I from the movie is just super rare. It's hard to come by, and if you can find it at a good price, hey, pick it up, but like I said, if you can find it. Now the other thing, it's lacking in articulation, but if you look at the first movie, if you've seen the first movie, and of course the design of the figure itself, the lack of articulation should be something that you should just let slide, and you'd pretty much enjoy this figure. I know whoever has this figure enjoys it. Now the Mark II is definitely one figure I can recommend because I love the mold. I love the figure mold for the Mark VI, the Mark IV, and, well, I don't have the Mark III because of the poor paint apps that I've seen on all of them, but I love those molds, and I can pretty much pull off any pose that I could think of, and I've enjoyed them no matter what. So I definitely would recommend the Mark II, aside from how beautiful it looks with that nice shiny silver. But that's just my review. Any of these three you like, hey, don't let my review stop you, or don't let my opinion stop you. Go get them. Now, with the anticipation of the second movie coming up, hoping that it's an upscaled version of the first one, I think it's time I upscale my reviews as well. I'll catch you guys later.